Darren Till, guys. Till's meaningful. He's a meaningful character. He's a meaningful participant. I thoroughly followed Till's career. He brought me in. And I don't believe that he debuted against Cowboy. I don't think he did. But I had never seen him fight before. That was his debut for me. Main event. Opposite Cerrone. And weren't they fighting? They weren't at 55. Were they at 70? Did Donald go up for that fight? So, I mean, he splashes onto the scene, right? Splashes into the main event fight. Never heard of the guy before. He's in there with a Hall of Famer. It's just this interesting thing. You remember that. He was 25 years young. And I called him. Right after that fight, I used to do guests on my podcast every day. Every day I'd have some kind of a guest on. Guy reaches out to me on DM on Twitter. Hey, you got to get Darren Till on. He's from my hometown. He did a great job. I said, man, I'd love to have Darren Till. I watched his fight over the weekend. This was a Monday. He fought on a Saturday. Guy sends me his number. I call him out of the blue. I just call him on my phone. He answers. And I could hear noise in the background, like he was at the gym. I could hear that bell and ding, ding, ding. I felt what sounded like jump ropes and what sounded like mitts and bags being hit. It was just one of these interesting things. He was already back. He answers the phone. It was like 9 a.m. wherever he was. And he was very friendly to me. And I said, man, you've got to be very proud of yourself. You must have been surprised. And that was the one thing that he corrected me on. And he said, no, I fully expected. I knew that was going to happen. And I could tell by the way he said it, that was real. He did not feel the pressures of walking into a main event, of taking on a guy who he most certainly looked up to. At 25 years old, yeah, you look up to Cowboy Cerrone. Absolutely. Not to mention it was scheduled for potential 5 rounds. That's intimidating for anybody, particularly a guy that's not in the 5-round club, that does this on a level of notice that's very short. I mean, it's a really interesting thing, but it's a really interesting perspective into Till's mind. Till then did an interview, and he was talking about what got him into MMA, how he got in there in his first days in the gym, and he name dropped. He said, and there were some names that you would know. There's 3-4 guys from that gym that went on and fought in the Strike Force and the Pride and the UFCs of the world. These were the name guys. But they looked at him as a fresh meat, and they just abused him. And I've seen that before. I don't like that. I have witnessed that, though, a number of times, where some stud, some experienced guy in the room, and somebody comes in and, it's their first day, and you take advantage of him. I've seen that. Phil Baroni knocked out Johnny Hendricks. It was Johnny Hendricks' first day. Should have even been sparring. Ends up sparring the New York baddest, and Phil knocks him out. So I just share, feel like I've seen these things in gyms. Well, speaking of Phil, I was there the day that he and Evan Tanner had to be separated by Randy Couture. Phil ends up leaving the gym, goes right to Joe Silva, books the match. I was there the day that thing came. I'm just sharing with you, when you're in the gym, those kinds of things bother me. It bothered Till too. And you know what Till did? Till trained until he was good enough to go back and wear out every one of those guys that did that to him. And he did. And it was a very interesting look into the mindset. I got a hold of Till early, guys. He fought on a Saturday. I'm talking to him Monday. I share that with you because it was some of the process and some of the media that bit him in the ass. I spoke to Till 48 hours after. Very successful main event victory over a Hall of Famer. That's when I had the real Till. And that is the mindset that today's Till needs to get back to. He needs to look back at himself. He gets to be his own idol. He gets to be his own mentor. What was I thinking? What was I doing? What made me think that way? And what made me do it that way? Where was I training? What was I eating? What songs were I listening to back then? What was my favorite restaurant back then? Anything that he can do. What are the clothes that I used to wear? What car did I used to drive? What time did I usually go to bed? Who are my friends? What TV shows was I watching? Anything that he can do, anything that he can remember to recreate that time, he needs to shut off the noise, quit talking, and get back to that. To himself. Because he wasn't working. He wasn't hustling. He wasn't trying to do interesting interviews. He wasn't trying to look like bravado. He was answering the questions that I asked him. He was answering questions. And by the way, guys, do you know why I'm telling you about this interview? Because I was so new to podcasting, I screwed up recording it. I screwed it. You've never heard it. Nobody ever heard this. I should add that. It's a very relevant part. You guys never heard this interview. Nobody did. Because of a technology issue I just started doing this. I screwed it up. So you don't know what I'm talking about. You don't know what I heard. You don't know the confidence, not to mention the calmness. It's how I knew. This wasn't bravado. This wasn't a guy that was high on life because he had this big victory. That's not what this was. He's a guy who had a very clear path. He knew what he was going to do. He knew who he was going to bring along, who he was going to train with, how he was going to do it. I say that because those things aren't true now. It is not as clear who Till is going to do it with. It is not as clear who he's going to train with. It is not as clear the confidence and the belief that he had in himself. It's just not. It's not for a lot of guys. You change. You change over time. And one thing about Darren Till, I feel as though he uses his interviews as of late, I'm talking about for about 2 years, as counseling sessions. I think Till's a little too honest with us. I think he's a little too honest with himself. You'll hear people tell that all the time, you gotta have confidence, you gotta be honest with yourself, you gotta be real objective. Bull crap. You need to be very careful what you let into your bubble. Including an outright denial of something. Something that didn't happen. You gotta block, sometimes you gotta block it. You got all these things to be confident about. Yeah, this one slipped in. You block out, throw it out. You control that bubble. And there's a lot of brainwashing that has to go on. When you hear about self-affirmations, you hear about meditating, or you hear about visualization, those are beautiful words for brainwashing. But sometimes you got to do it to yourself. And I feel as though Till got a little bit too honest. I almost watched it happening. I could watch these interviews and then I could see a performance that was off. Nights that Till would win, there was things within the performance where I would see him in different moments shut down. The opponent didn't capitalize. The opponent didn't know that Till had opened the window for him. But I did. As a fellow competitor, I did. I saw it. Even if he got through it, even if he reset. And I only share with you, early in his career, he was making his first and initial run to a world championship at 170 pounds, which the organization fully thought he was going to win. This guy was flat. It was just a little bit different. And Till's come out now. Till said, just yesterday, he said that he is going to be back in the UFC, and he's going to need 2 to 3 years. He isn't sitting out and he's not retiring. He's going to fight. He's going to fight on the open and regional circuit. And no matter what opportunities come up, no matter how much money he makes, he's going to leave it. And he's going to go back to the UFC and he's going to pursue the belt. This is what he said within the interview. And I don't have a tremendous problem with that, right? I mean, a guy that's got a 2-year plan, a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, I think those are good and responsible things. A guy that's still got a vision, he's still got the eye of the tiger. I think that those are good and responsible things. But most people will have to look to somebody else that's done what it is they want to do and then copy them. That would be their idol. That would be who they admire, who they're trying to be like. Hill's in a unique spot because all he needs to be like is himself at 25. Things changed. I watched this unfolding. I watched it unfolding when Till kept moving around where he was training. Really, really bad sign. No matter how good those guys are that you're training with, it's a really, really bad sign. Whatever Till did on that first day where those 4 big name guys took advantage of him and got him motivated, wherever he went, wherever he trained to get ready, get his body right, to go back in there and wear all 4 of them out. And he did, and he named their names, by the way. They're names that you know. He named their names. So this isn't just talk. That happened. He needs to go back, remember who that was, who he worked with, what he did, what drove him, what pissed him off. How many times a week did he go get a run? How many times would he stop what he's doing and get down and do those push-ups as you had that certain hunger? I don't know the answers to that, but he knows the answers, and he's in a unique spot. He's in a unique spot because having access to the mentor that he needs is nothing more than turning off the TV, stopping the noise, closing your eyes, and going back. But then you got to believe in that guy. Got to believe in that guy. Got thrown out of that room. Got punked by 4 dudes. Got better and walked back in that room by himself. If Till goes and finds that guy, if he quits using interviews as counseling sessions, if he quits thinking I got to go here to get the answers, and this guy can show me how to stop a half guard, and this guy's the wrestling, bull crap. The sport's not that complicated. Don't let anybody complicate it for you. It's the first thing that a trainer is going to do when he wants to grab you, right? And training's a business. You got to have clients. First thing he's going to do is convince you that you're doing something wrong. He has to. He has to convince you you're doing it wrong, but he knows the right way to do it, and this is his value. Get on a plane and get out here. Bring your checkbook with you. It's the first thing they have to do. Sport's not complicated. I hit you and you don't hit me. That's this sport. Should we go to the ground? I want to be the guy on top. That's this sport. And it's not about being beautiful and get in here and your hips are here and your toe points this and your hips come in and you look across the shoulder this. Grab a guy and throw him down. Hit him more than he hits you. And sometimes you got to grab a guy and throw him down. That's this sport.